This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
And welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. We are joined today by Mike Preston. He's the Executive Director of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. Almost 2 years in Arkansas.
That's right, almost.
It's been good. Glad to have you back with us.
It's been a great almost 2 years.
Let's talk about some stuff that has happened in the short term, in the last probably 6 months or so. Some real solid scores, particularly in the timber industry. Not only do you have the Big Sun Paper project, but you've had Conifex, you've had Caddo Valley down in Pike County there. When are we going to start seeing the timber industry enjoy the fruits of those successes?
I think you're starting to see it now. I mean, we have been successful in the timber industry and sort of bringing that back to life. You mentioned Conifex in El Dorado. What a great project that was. A Georgia Pacific mill had been sitting vacant for many years, and here's a company that comes in and invests $80 million and creates 120 jobs. So you're going to see that industry starting to pick back up. But in 2 years' time, I think we've had almost $2 billion in capital investment in our state in the timber industry. So we're really starting to see that come back to life. That's exciting because that means jobs from the top there all the way down through, in the timber industry and the logging, trucking, cutting, all of it. So good indirect jobs that you're going to start to see.
It's good for the wood basket there,
Absolutely.
what we call it there. All right, well, you may have noticed we have a new president,
Yes.
Donald Trump. There is a lot of business and CEO confidence, though, with Donald Trump's presidency. We're seeing some numbers that have really sustained for a couple of months now. What are you seeing in terms of the pipeline? Is it truly resonating and becoming something that's feeding the project
That's a great
pipeline?
question. It's interesting, Roby, that you bring that up because I go back to November, and right before the election, all of a sudden we kind of saw a real slowdown on our projects. The pipeline was kind of stopped, and I think everyone was just sitting there on the sidelines waiting to see what happens in the election. And then the election happened, and Trump becomes president, and all of a sudden we start to see an uptick. And right now, our pipeline is completely full. Our project managers spread as thin as we've ever been.
Wow.
And you're right, because it's coming back to CEOs have confidence. They have confidence in the economy right now, and some of the talk that Trump has been talking about, cutting taxes and cutting regulation and reshoring jobs, we're seeing that. I think we've been in line for jobs already coming back from China, and a company in Tian Yuan who's going to do garment manufacturing in the U.S. I mean, Arkansas is a front runner on this. So exciting times for Arkansas in manufacturing, but all of our economic development projects.
As with Trump, it can be a double-edged sword sometimes. He has gone after some businesses, too, through social media there. Does that worry you? Do you see anybody kind of a little hesitation there, like, let's be careful? Or?
You know, it's a balancing act, but a lot of times businesses certainly don't want to be named in a tweet, certainly not from the president. So there's definitely a double-edged sword that you got to be careful of. But from what we've seen, for the most part, all the feedback has been positive, and people are excited about less regulation, paying lower taxes on a federal basis. I think economic developers in Arkansas and really all over the country get ready because our pipelines are going to continue to be full, and that gives us the opportunity to compete a little bit more against our sister and brother states around us, and hopefully we're going to win some of those deals.
Well, the Arkansas Legislature is in. Let's shift our focus to the state capitol and talk about some things that you're putting in place from a policy perspective. You guys have passed 3 bills really kind of aimed at the startup and technology sector. I don't want to go too deep into the details on that, but tell me why that area and what you're trying to accomplish.
Right. Well, and as we talk about traditional economic development, we've done a great job. We've done a fantastic job the last 2 years on doing economic development and doing recruitment of those big industries. What we also need to do, though, is think about the next generation and the future of economic development. We want to make sure that we're touching those, those entrepreneurs, those startup companies, and those innovative companies that are going to take us into the next generation of jobs. And this is what these bills are aimed to do, and having accelerator programs so we can take these small companies or these startup companies, get them access to capital, access to mentors, access to markets where that they can grow and thrive. We've done a fantastic job in Arkansas growing our own. If you look at the likes of Walmart and Sam Walton and Don Tyson and Tyson, or Charles Morgan at Axiom, we've got these entrepreneurial spirit in Arkansas, and we want to be able to continue to grow that. So this was an area that maybe we were missing a little bit in the last few years, so we want to put an emphasis on making sure to help these companies.
Well, those big companies that you named didn't have a lot of help from the government in terms of getting started there, and so we're talking about through these accelerator programs and startup activity, there's some risk involved in that. And we have seen some other states lose money, sometimes big money, on taking some of these risks. This is not a huge amount of money that we're talking about here, but nonetheless, how does risk kind of get reassessed?
Well,
at
I
the
think
state
that's
level?
why you look at states and they kind of shy away from this area and not want to put into it because there is risk associated with it, and that's why it's capped at a $2 million investment by the legislature, and we're not going to be able to do more than $250,000 per deal that we do into this. So you have to know that, you know, for a lot of those startups out there, those companies that are growing, a lot of them probably won't fail. So we have to be very diligent in the ones that we do invest in. But we want to make sure that we are supporting the new entrepreneurs, that this technology economy and the governor's computer coding initiative, that we have jobs that are going to be there for those kids when they come out of school and are now proficient in that skill. We want to have those jobs there. This is a big step in getting us to that direction.
The legislature can be helpful. They can be harmful at times too. We have seen a transgender bathroom bill is at least filed, not fleshed out. You've got kind of the whole controversy of separating the King and the Lee holidays. You've got guns on college campuses. Does any of that, those social issue kind of pieces of legislation, there's always an argument that it hurts the perception of Arkansas. Do you see it hurting the perception of Arkansas?
It could, yes. I think it could. And you know, right now, as you alluded to on the bathroom bill, that it's filed, but it's a shell bill, so we don't really know what it says. So it's kind of hard to comment and say what it will do. But you can point to North Carolina and what happened there in that state. If there was a bill filed like that, the economic impact that had on economic development. I know we took advantage of it. There were companies that we were calling in North Carolina who were looking to get out after that passed. And anything that hurts the perception of a state is going to hurt us in terms of economic development. So yeah, you do have to be careful. So we obviously keep a close eye on anything that's moving through the legislature, even on these issues as well.
So you'd lobby to defeat a bill like that if it were to start moving?
I would certainly make it known the economic impact that it would have on our state and what it would do to our agency and the efforts that we've done. And the last 2 years, we put a lot into marketing our state and telling the Arkansas story, and we're getting a lot of national and international attention right now. And we certainly don't want the negative attention that could bring.
All right, two biggies left here. Issue 3 was passed in November. That's going to allow for some larger super project type bond financing. And the Quick Action Closing Fund, right now it's got 0 in its budget in terms of what the governor's proposing. Tell me how Issue 3, I can't remember which amendment it is now because it gets integrated in a bunch of stuff. I know it amended Amendment 82. Where do we stand with that, and where do we stand with the Quick Action Closing Fund? Well,
on the Issue 3, I mean, so excited about how that passed. I think it ended up 65% of the voters voted in favor of that. And that's a vote of confidence in economic development in the state, saying that we recognize that we as a state need to do more in economic development. I always think we can do more. And this is something that's going to allow the local communities to engage in economic development so that they can partner with the state. And that's where we're running into challenges where we're going head to head with another state, and maybe we're winning by just a little bit, but all of a sudden a local community comes in and they kind of open up their war chest and have a great site there, and then all of a sudden we're at a deficiency when we're competing against it. This is going to give our local communities the arms that they need to go in and be able to compete. And as far as the Quick Action Closing Fund, yeah, it's one of our most important tools that we have, and we do use it wisely, and there's carryover language because some of these projects go on for a number of years. So we want to make sure that we're not overselling ourselves and overcommitting, but we'll continue to advocate for the Quick Action Closing Fund, and it really comes down to the budget numbers, and are we going to have enough revenue to come in?
It's at 0 now. How much do you want? What would be ideal?
Ideal would be to replenish it to where it was at the last legislative session.
50 million?
50 million.
Yeah. Okay.
But we'll take
Duly
what we can
noted.
get.
I got you. All right. He's Mike Preston, Arkansas Economic Development
Thanks,
Commission
Robbie.
Executive Director. Thank you so much. We will be back right after this word from our sponsors. Hey, I was at a White House briefing this week via Skype. You're going to want to see and hear a little bit more about that. And Senator Tom Cotton, he had a town hall. We'll talk to some folks that were there in his favor and not in his favor right after this.